So, welcome to Gumption. We are going to
Hi.
talk about what gumption is today because it's a very difficult thing to define. So, Trudy, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Okay, I'll introduce myself. My name is Trudy J. I am a paranormal romance urban fantasy author, and I'm just trying to think. What do we start? Do we just that's enough of an intro? I've got 5 books out that I have written in the last couple of years, and I'm just started on a new urban fantasy series. What about you, Kelly? You can introduce yourself.
I'm Kelly McClymer. Have written historical romance, cozy mystery, and fantasy, and I have tutored children in dyslexia and taught writing and done lots and lots of very strange things, and I'm pretty good at talking.
And I am Aurelia, and I also write stories in like every genre ever, and nonfiction and stuff, and I do all the things. Yeah. So
You do all the things.
I do all the things. Okay, I don't juggle. I juggle metaphorically, but I don't juggle literally.
You know that juggling. Juggling is
sticking to our scripts.
What about juggling, Trudy?
I was going to say juggling is the only exercise that actually grows brain cells.
Really?
It's true. Yep. If you juggle, that you're exercising your brain and you're growing brain cells. You should start juggling.
I was supposed to learn how to juggle in 6th grade, and it didn't work.
I don't have anything I can juggle.
Anyway,
no, I can't. No. Okay, no, I'm giving up.
So, someone start talking about what gumption means while I go find those quotes from the holiday.
Okay. Well, we talked about Anne of Green Gables the other day.
We're talking about Anne of Green Gables next week.
Oh, are we? Okay.
All
right, I won't talk about her.
It's okay, Trudy. You can talk about her today, too, if that's how you define gumption.
Well, I just thought she was a character that really... I won't talk too much. I will only talk a little bit, I promise.
Give a teaser taste for next time.
Ignore me. I'm like sleep deprived, so everything is ridiculous for no reason.
Okay. Do you think maybe we could start again? Because I think this is just...
Okay. Trudy? Gumption.
I think we could start again, but then it gets complicated with editing.
Gumption doesn't mean perfect. We do not have to be perfect. Gumption means when you're not perfect, you just go, okay, let's try it again from the top.
I was talking to my aunt about this earlier, and we were talking about how having gumption, it's not something you have continuously all the time. It's sort of something you have in the context of an event, and there's usually some element of like overcoming something. So in a way, being okay with making mistakes and being ridiculous, that takes a little bit of gumption, doesn't it?
Well, I was thinking of gumption. You don't need gumption when things are going well. You only need gumption when things start to get hard, because
that's true.
To me, anyway, gumption is, what you apply when you really would rather turn around and just walk away.
Yeah. Okay, I found the quotes from the holiday.
Okay, good.
Are you ready? Because this is sort of a little bit what inspired this, is a discussion about these quotes that
we have. And the holiday is a movie, right?
The holiday is a movie. It's got, oh my goodness, blanking.
I know, I can picture both of them. Kate Winslet and tall blonde lady.
Tall blonde woman, yeah. Um,
Anyway, some lady.
it's a really good movie. You should go watch it. Okay, so the first quote is Arthur says to Iris, "You, I can tell, are a leading lady, but for some reason you are behaving like the best friend." To which Iris replies, "You're so right. You're supposed to be the leading lady of your own life, for God's sake." And then later in the movie, Jasper says to Iris, "What exactly has got into you?" And Iris replies, "I don't know, but I think what I've got is something slightly resembling gumption." Which is awesome. And if you've seen the movie, if you haven't, this is maybe a little bit of a spoiler, but if you have seen it, you know what scene this is. Like, Iris is finally decided that she's over Jasper and she's kicking him out because he's trying to hook up with her again after not breaking up with his fiance. And that is a situation that takes some gumption to, like, break what has become standard expectations and to do the right thing even though it doesn't necessarily come easily, and even though it's not what people think you should do, right?
Yep. Although, does anyone think that she should stay with that guy? I don't think anyone would have said that she should have stayed with the guy that treated her as a doormat.
No, nobody would say that she should, except for herself and that guy, right?
Yeah.
So she's been in love with him for ages. She's been, doing whatever he wants for ages, and she's finally saying, "No, I've had enough. This is over."
Yeah.
And I think that has all been going on long enough that he has come to expect that when he says jump, she jumps.
So yeah, it takes a lot of, and you would say that she probably wasn't acting with gumption prior to that, so someone can.
Yeah, probably not. I think she needed to learn, or maybe to remember how to have gumption, and that's where her friendship with Arthur comes in, because he sort of acts like that mentor to her.
And also, in some ways, coming to value herself. Like she comes to the point where she values herself too much to let continue with this relationship with this guy who doesn't value her.
Right.
He's just treating her as a doormat. He just wants her to read his manuscript and be his sub-editor, and he doesn't actually want her.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's true of all sorts of other instances where you would need gumption. Like if you needed to tell your boss's boss that your boss was doing something wrong, that would require gumption as well, because you're sort of going around the typical business structure. Or if there's a social custom that you're supposed to bring flowers when you go to dinner, but you don't want to bring flowers because you're going to dinner with someone who you don't really care about that much, and you choose not to get flowers.
Okay, that does not count as gumption to me.
Well, I think it could count as gumption.
I don't. I mean, just if
maybe
you
it's not the best
convention
example.
Just because you don't like somebody, I don't think so. But let's say you're breaking social convention because
you bring a turtle instead of flowers.
Flowers, so you're not going to bring them flowers. Even though your mother is going to get quite mad at you.
What if you knew that whatever flowers you brought would not be appreciated? Like if this particular person you were bringing flowers to doesn't like flowers, or they have an allergy to them, or they just, whatever kind of flowers you bring aren't the right flowers, and you're supposed to magically know which are the right flowers without them telling you, but they won't tell you. And so whatever you do is...
Well, so this is my issue in life. I never really understand the correct social conventions. I kind of have to ask around, because it's just not a natural thing that I've ever picked up.
And it depends. Whatever the right social customs are really depends on the culture of the particular group that you're in, and that changes over time.
But so what
And it
I
takes
generally tend to
gumption to enact that
is think
change.
about each person, which takes a lot more time. And sometimes other people think, if you're like, well, I know this person likes this, but it's not the traditional thing to do, then that, might strike other people as strange. Like if I know someone, doesn't drink wine, or I don't bring them a bottle of wine. If I know they like red wine, I bring them red wine. Um, it's, I don't know. I guess to me though, gumption has a little tiny bit of stick-to-itiveness in it. It's not just because I like what you're saying about you have to know what you think is the right thing to do and be willing to take some crap to do it.
Right.
Like there's something going wrong in the office, and it's bad form to go above your boss to his boss, well, or her boss. Too bad. To fix the problem, that's what you have to do. If you've already
Yeah.
tried other channels, you just have to take the heat, for whatever, because that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, there's a kind of an aspect of it being the right thing to do. Like maybe, I don't know, does gumption necessarily you're doing something because you think it's the right thing to do, or because you're making a
Well,
point of some kind? You're not
I
just
think
doing gumption because you can't be bothered taking someone flowers. That
Yeah,
seems
I think
to
I think there's an element of rebelliousness. So like if the tradition is to give someone flowers when you go to dinner, but you know that that person is allergic and won't appreciate the flowers anyway, and you choose to go against tradition and bring them something different, even though you know that everyone else who's going to that dinner party is going to judge you for it,
Right, but you know
then
that the
that has an
person you're
element of
bringing them
gumption to
to,
it.
yes, that's going to. It's like sort of like wearing red to a funeral. If you know that the
Right.
person who is being buried would be like, yes, yes, I like you in
mm,
red. Um,
yeah.
Other people might be thinking very harshly, but you're not there for them. You're there to honor the person
Right.
whose funeral it is. So that
Right.
makes sense to me. And I've always, I do tend, when I'm reading, when I'm watching TV, when I'm liking people, I do tend to gravitate toward the people who have that flair for knowing exactly the right thing to do, even if it's not exactly the proper thing to do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, and I like how you said
I,
that. Doing the right thing even if it's not the proper thing. I like
it would
that.
be there would be different people defining what the right thing is according to their own. So for some people, the proper
Right.
thing would be the right
Yeah.
thing, and they
It's
will
true.
be
Yeah.
horrified that you're not doing the proper thing slash right thing in their
Can't
eyes. But
please
it's about
everybody.
no. So it's maybe swimming the wrong direction up the stream when everyone else is going down one way, you're going the other. But I think it's not just for the sake of it. I think it's for there's a
It's
purpose
for a
behind it.
reason. Yeah, there's got to be some
You've
sort of
someone with
reason.
strong ideals, or kind of you're doing it for a yeah. I think so. I think that you kind of can't just be a you can't just be rebellious just for the sake of it. There has to be a purpose behind
Yeah.
it as part of it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of, do you know, in urban fantasy, I think there are a lot of heroines with gumption. In fact, it's
I
almost like
agree.
you
That's
have
one
to
of the
have
reasons I
gumption.
like that genre, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Who's your favorite?
Who's my
Were you
favorite?
thinking
I
of
like
one, Trudy?
Mercy Thompson. I really like her.
I like
I don't know if
Ilona
you've ever.
Andrews.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's Kate Daniels. I just started reading that
I like
series for
her
the first
other
time
stuff
ever.
too. I'm not all caught up on the Kate Daniels series, but I like her new series, but I'm really annoyed because the publisher is releasing a book every 3 years.
Oh no, yeah, that's
I
And
awful.
it's
used to
this sort
love
of,
Laurel
it's an
Hamilton.
urban
But
fantasy that has elements of romance in it, and the romance happens over the course of the series. So, like, they have their first kiss at, like, the middle of the first book, and their second kiss at the end of the first book, and then, like, the teaser chapter, they're, like, not speaking to each other again. I'm like, no, I want to know what happens next.
well, they'll be speaking to each other again soon.
I know, but I don't get to read the story for ages and ages, and it's so sad.
Well, that is the problem.
All right, here's what the dictionary on my iPad says about gumption. It says it's a noun. Shocker. Um,
So you
okay,
have
definition one. Initiative, aggressiveness, resourcefulness.
That's interesting because there's two, like one, the aggressive is kind of negative and resourcefulness is sort of more positive. It's obviously like
Right.
a
And
word that you can
initiative
kind of
is
see.
too. And
Yeah.
So
then,
here's a
yeah.
question. Do we ever think of gumption as being something we say a guy has, or is it mainly something, or a word that gets applied to women to say that women have gumption? I
I think
don't know.
I would
probably
say it's more a thing I associate with women, but I think that's because of Anne of Green Gables.
yeah.
I
I
don't
think
think
maybe
it's
it's a really old-fashioned word, and I think maybe a while ago, like 50 years ago, maybe men used to say, people would say he's got gumption, but because we look back now and all the things like Anne of Green Gables and that the holiday movie and things like that, we kind of, that's what we associate, and it's all women's sort of stuff. Like
yeah.
it's not. So maybe
Yeah.
it's not. Maybe we
Yeah.
should sort of check into that. Actually, I'd be interested to know whether it was a generic kind of word or whether it is
I think
associated with
it
just
is. I
women.
mean, the example sentence it gives for the first definition is with his gumption, he'll make a success of himself. And then the
Okay.
second definition is courage, spunk, guts. And the example sentence for it is it takes gumption to quit a high-paying job.
Yeah, that's kind of like what we're talking about.
Right. And then the third one is common sense, shrewdness.
See, now that one I don't
Shrewdness.
get, but okay. Because to me, I've never heard it used that way.
Yeah.
Shrewdness kind of it sort of feels like it's a different thing. Gumption feels like you've got the
I
strength
like
of
the
will,
second,
the ability to do
the
something
first and
that's
second
against the
definitions best.
Oops, I lost my.
shrewdness.
Yeah.
Just seems like it's like you can be shrewd about something, but not necessarily. Doesn't feel like you
Should we
always
tell
have
the
gumption.
dictionary to change its definitions? We don't like
Yes, we should definitely write to the dictionary people.
They are wrong. Here are all
They
the
are.
reasons why you are wrong.
So who's your favorite character that you think has got gumption then, in books or movies?
That's a really hard choice. Mostly because I've read so many books and seen so many movies. Um, hmm.
Maybe Kelly, have you got one while Aurelia thinks about it?
Well, so I'll go with something modern that's in the news, and I do think Katniss in the Hunger Games
Ah,
is
yes.
a really high-end example of gumption because
Yeah.
she just never sways from what she
Yeah.
wants. I mean, people put all these obstacles in her way and really try and force her to go their
Yeah.
way instead of her way, and she just, as
Yeah.
often as she can, she finds her
I
own way.
think Rey has gumption as well in Star Wars, the new Star Wars. But her kind of gumption is quieter than Katniss's gumption is.
Well, you think to be able to survive on that planet by herself for as long as she has and as young as she is.
But I think it takes gumption for her to leave. And it takes gumption for her to try to use the Force when she has no training. And no reason to believe that women can use the Force because there hasn't ever been a woman who used it before.
Yes, that still bothers me.
Yeah, the stories were developed before feminism happened.
Well, no, because, women did fight and starve and chain themselves to fences for the vote, so...
Yeah, but the vote and equal rights aren't quite the same.
Feminism happened before the men, though. It is interesting, though. I mean, that's one of the things I like about science fiction, that it can posit a world where only the men have this force, and then, 7 movies in, it can change the rules again. So that's nice. I hope we get to discover that she really, really has gumption, because I suspect she's going to need it in the next 2 movies.
Mm-hmm.
They do tend to like to torture those poor characters.
Yeah. Oh, Arya from the Game of Thrones totally has gumption.
Oh, she does.
And so does Daenerys. Actually, most of the women in that, I think that's why people tend to like that series so much, despite all of the gore, is because so many of the characters have gumption. Even the bad characters have
Even the
gumption.
bad characters. I was going to say that. Even the characters who sometimes seem a little weak, when when things start to happen, they suddenly start to show their strength, their inner strength. Even if they die for it, they show it. Oh, there was a funny meme, Trudy. Did we lose Trudy? Is she gone?
I think she must have gone to deal with Zoe.
Oh, okay. I didn't see her go. Well, so you already saw the funny meme.
Did I?
Yes, you did, because you're the one that told me about it. It was, what was it?
Are you talking about
It was
the job
application? The Valentine's Day cards.
Oh, the Valentine's Day cards. Okay.
I love you as much as George R.R. Martin loves killing characters. I remembered it.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have a dark heart for your Valentine, that would be the perfect Valentine to send.
Or a Game of Thrones mega fan. Yes, that would be. Yeah.
Even if you're a Game of Thrones mega fan, that's a pretty dark-hearted Valentine to give. Somebody might not want to sleep.
Even like I think most of this is why I'm having so many difficulties coming up with like the one character who has the best gumption of all of the characters, because so many of the best stories are all about people who have gumption. They just don't necessarily state that explicitly. I think Elizabeth Bennet in Pride and Prejudice has gumption, and I think Jane Austen had gumption, and I think.
So I would say that I think Jane Austen actually uses gumption in both of its possibilities, for good and for bad, because it can also be a stubbornness that leads you not to see good qualities in each other, like Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy were overlooking each other's good qualities because they had formed poor opinions of each other a little bit too quickly.
Right, but it also, I think it takes gumption to realize that you're wrong and to admit it.
Exactly. It takes more gumption to do that probably than to just have a bad opinion. But they took a while before they came to see the light.
That's human of them, though. But at the same time, like, I think it takes gumption of Frodo. Like, Frodo is taking the ring to Rivendell, and he thinks that's going to be the end of his journey. And then there's this council meeting, and he realizes that everyone else is fighting so much that they are never going to agree on anything, and that he just needs to step up and do it. And that takes a lot of gumption.
Well, and he's written, I mean, Tolkien wrote The Hobbits is not really being the kind of characters who had a tremendous gumption, because
like I don't think Bilbo really had gumption. Not until the very end when he's confronting Smaug. Bilbo starting on that journey is not an act of gumption. That's an act of like being poked and prodded and pushed until he steps out the door.
Basically, yes, he's not doing what he really wants to do. If he had gumption, he would just stay home, and then the story wouldn't happen. So that would be bad.
Right. Yeah.
That is interesting. I mean, it is probably true that all of the characters we really, really love show gumption in some form or another.
Yeah. I don't know. There are so many characters who have gumption that I don't even know. I don't know who would have the best gumption. I don't know if there even is a such thing as a best example of gumption. Because I think it really depends on the circumstances.
Yeah, I think gumption can be shown in a lot of different ways, very small, quiet ways and very big ways. And sometimes you don't even notice, and sometimes it's very dramatic, because everybody's like, well, I would never do that. And other times you think you would do it, you just don't realize how hard it is when you actually have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So are we done with gumption, do you think? No, we're not done with gumption.
We are never done with gumption. Gumption is continuous. It will happen forever and ever and ever.
That's true.
But I think we will revisit this every episode, really. I mean, we're talking about Anne of Green Gables specifically next time, but it's an example of gumption, right? So I think our definition of gumption and what it means and our understanding of what it means will continue to develop and grow over time. So, if you are listening to this, we want to know what you think gumption is, and we want to know if you have listened to Anne of Green Gables. Not listened to. What am I talking about?
They could have listened to it if it was an
You could have listened to it, you could have read
Or
it, you
TV.
could have seen it, In either case, you should go to abyssinianbooks.com/gumption and sign up, because then you will not miss future discussions on gumption.
And you should look in the show notes to take a survey, because we're curious about
We want to know. We all want to know what you think of gumption. We want to know what you think of Anne of Green Gables and what you think about Anne of Green Gables and whether or not Anne has gumption and how she has gumption and all of that.
Or does Matthew have more gumption? I think Matthew has the most gumption. That's my opinion, but I might change my mind before next week.
That's her.
I haven't made up my mind about it, actually. Yeah, I have no idea.
I might have to go back and read the books this week.
Yeah, I probably really should too. It's been a really long time. Maybe I'll go see if I can find the Cliff Notes version someplace.
I still know them pretty well, just because I read them and then I read them to my daughter, and so the only thing we haven't done is gone over to Nova Scotia to do the tour.
My sister didn't want me to read them to her, so she didn't let me, and my brother's just not interested. Like most 12-year-old boys.
Sadly, it's not a boys' book.
Shocking. 12-year-old boys don't want to read about Anne of Green Gables.
They should, but they don't.
Oh, they'll learn when they have daughters. When they're...
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right, take the survey, sign up to find out more. We'll be more coordinated next week for sure. We'll have more gumption, maybe.
Gumption next week.
Yes, we will have gumption next week, because we will be back despite being ridiculous this week.
Exactly.
Excellent.
All right. See you next week.